Once upon a time, during the scorching peak of summer, the earth was dry and cracked, and the sun blazed like fire in the sky. The trees stood still, their leaves wilted, and the rivers had shrunk to thin threads. All creatures, great and small, suffered from the intense heat and thirst. Far from the jungle, on the edge of a small village, lived a clever crow named Kalu. He was not the strongest or fastest of birds, but he was known throughout the forest for his cleverness and determination. One burning afternoon, Kalu flew high above the fields searching for water. His throat was dry, and every beat of his wings felt heavier. He had flown over dried ponds, empty vessels, and even cracked clay pots with no sign of relief. "Water, just a little water," he whispered, flapping slowly. Just as he was about to give up, he spotted something glinting in the sunlight below. He circled down, his wings wobbling, and landed near an old, abandoned house. There, under a neem tree, stood a half-buried clay pot filled half with water. Kalu's eyes lit up. Could it be? He hopped closer and peered into the pot. His heart leapt. There was water inside. But then his joy quickly faded. The water was too low, far beyond the reach of his beak. He tried to dip his head in. No use. He tried to push the pot over. It was too heavy. Kalu stepped back, panting, feeling frustrated. He looked around. The area was quiet, the earth dry and hard. Other animals would soon come. If he didn't act fast, he would lose his only chance. But Kalu was not the kind to give up. He sat under the neem tree and thought deeply. If I cannot reach the water, I must find a way to bring the water up to me. Just then, a memory flashed in his mind. He remembered seeing a village boy playing with pebbles, throwing them into a puddle and laughing at the rising splash. "That's it," Kalu exclaimed. "If I drop stones into the pot, the water level might rise." He fluttered with renewed energy and began searching for pebbles and small stones. He picked up the first one with his beak and dropped it into the pot. Plunk! He watched eagerly. The water rippled slightly, but it was still low. Kalu didn't give up. He picked up another pebble. Plunk! Then another. And another. Each time, he dropped it carefully into the pot. Slowly, ever so slowly, the water began to rise in half-buried clay pot filled half with water. The more stones he added, the higher the water climbed. Sweat dripped from his feathers, but he kept going. Other birds watched from a distance. Some laughed. "What a foolish crow," said one pigeon. "Why doesn't he just look for another source?" But Kalu ignored them. Even a lazy sparrow called out, "There's no way that will work. You'll waste your strength." Still Kalu continued. Plunk, plunk, plunk. Hours passed. The sun began to soften as afternoon turned to evening. By now, the water had risen enough for Kalu to reach it. With a joyful cry, he dipped his beak in and drank deeply. The cool water ran down his throat like a river of life. "Ah," he sighed in relief. But Kalu wasn't selfish. He called to the other birds, even those who had mocked him. "There is enough water for all. Come and drink." The birds came, amazed and humbled by his patience and cleverness. "You were right," said the pigeon. "We gave up before we even tried." Kalu smiled. Sometimes we face problems that seem impossible. But if we stop, think, and don't give up, we can always find a solution. That night, Kalu returned to his nest, tired but proud. He knew he had done something simple, yet powerful. Not only had he quenched his thirst, but he had also shown others the value of patience, intelligence, and perseverance. From that day forward, Kalu's story spread across the forest. Animals would often tell their young ones, "Be like the thirsty crow. When the problem seems deep, think deep." Moral of the story: where there's a will, there's a way. Intelligence and perseverance can solve even the toughest problems. His story reminds us not to give up when faced with challenges. By thinking creatively and working patiently, we can find solutions to the problems that seem impossible at first.